Today, and we are going to be talking about the future of jobs report and what that means for our clients and a little bit about what it means for us. Because the World Economic Forum releases this report every 3 or 4 years. They did 2016, 2020, and now 2023. And it's important for us to understand what's going on, what are the predictions, and then what do we want to do with that? How do we want to help our clients really prepare for the changes that are coming in the future of jobs? And it's not just about technology, but of course it is. There are some technology things coming in, and we'll talk about that as well. What is causing some of these changes? So we come here every Tuesday doing the Trend Tuesdays, talking about the now, the new, and the next in careers. And we hope you'll join us on future Tuesdays, or if you're watching this on YouTube, you can subscribe and you'll get an announcement, an alert when we go live and when we post new videos. So, what is going on this future of jobs report? The main thing that I noticed is different from 2020 to 2023 is the shift in the amount of jobs that are going to be replaced, or kind of the churn. So in the 2020 report, they mentioned that there was going to be a 12 million job delta in the good direction as new jobs were created and old jobs were eliminated because of technology, but also because of other economic forces. So there's going to be a 12 million job creation, which is great. So some jobs were going to be eliminated, some jobs were going to be created, and we had this $12 million on the plus side. Now in 2023, the story has changed a little bit, and they're showing a $12 million, it's $12 million, a 12 million job deficit in the next 5 years by the jobs that are going to be created and the jobs that are going to be eliminated. Now that sounds like a lot. 12, 14 million is a lot of jobs. It's 2% of the current jobs. So it is a big number. And obviously, that's important. But the 2% kind of gave me a little bit of, oh, okay, it's a small percentage, even though it's a big number. And who knows, maybe a lot of those jobs are jobs that are going unfilled now. We'll look at some of that. What does this mean? So say hello if you're joining me. Say hello in the chat. Love to see who is there and where you're joining me from. And then what do you think about this shift? 2020, we said that there was going to be 12 million more jobs created than eliminated. And now we're saying that there's going to be 14 million more eliminated than are created. And in just 3 years, that's kind of a big shift. We're going to dive into what are some of the factors that are leading to that, and what are some of the jobs that we can expect are going to be eliminated or created. So, hi, John. It's good to see you. Thanks for stopping by there in Raleigh. Hope things are going well. Hi, Lucy. Good to see you too. Thanks for saying hello. So, I'd love to hear what you're seeing and how you help your clients prepare for this fact that technology is going to be eliminating jobs, that economic forces, and it's not just technology, there are other things that are coming in and making things shift. Awesome. San Francisco Bay, good to see you. And then also from New Jersey. Thanks, Michael. It's nice to see you. Thank you. Okay, so what's going on and what do we need to be aware of? Let is come in here. We're going to go into the report. I'm going to show you just a few things. I'm going to blow it up a little first so that we can see where we're going and see what we're looking at and what matters. I'm going to show you some of the visuals because those are easy. If this intrigues you, I'd encourage you to come in here and check it out for yourself and just see what are the things that interest you, what are the areas. It's really cool because they've got a very global look. So some of the graphs include many different countries. Some of the graphs are broken out by country. It just gives you some global view too of what's going on in the space. So we're going to take a little bit of a look kind of backwards and what are the trends backwards, and then we'll look at what's going on moving forward. So this is the future of jobs report from World Economic Forum. I'll pull up the link here just for a minute and then I'll pull it back up again in a bit. But really, if you just search World Economic Forum future of jobs 2023, that'll be the best way to get to this and see what the deal is. Okay, so let me make this just a little bit bigger. I think that might be as good as we can do. All right. I don't think I can get rid of the sidebar for some reason. Oh, there we go. Yay. All right. So LinkedIn jobs on the rise. And this again is looking backwards. This I find interesting since there's all this tech talk. The first three, well, the first two jobs and then the fourth are not techie here. You've got sales growth, human resources, and marketing communications. Now, of course, we know there was some things going on in 2020, 2021 that caused this shift with having to hire and dealing with all of the employment issues that came with the pandemic. But I just find this interesting how this pattern is a little bit different than what we're going to see projected moving forward. So this, I'd love to hear if this is surprising. Again, this is looking backwards, 2018, 2022, looking backwards at some of the jobs that were predicted to change in 2020, and then how that actually played out. All right, and then fastest growing job postings. So very similar theme here with the talent acquisition, sales rep, customer service. We see that same theme in jobs that have been growing over the past few years, but that's not necessarily what the predictions are. So let's look at some of the information about what is driving business change. Of course, the top one is this adaptation, adapting new technologies, broadening of digital access. Then you've got some government things in here, the environmental, social, and governance standards, rising cost of living for consumers. So there's some other things that are causing this shift that we've been talking about, where more jobs may be eliminated than created. It's not just technology, but there's obviously a piece of that playing into it. And then, from the pandemic, the supply shortages and shifts in how companies are managing their global business based on the changes that happened during the pandemic. So we're seeing a lot of forces there that understand, how those are all playing in to this shift. So then the economic, the impact of those, and I'm not going to spend too much on time on that, just tells you how much they're impacting it. We're going to keep going here and we're going to get down to what does that mean for jobs, type of technologies that are being adopted. Again, this is neat, but it's not exactly where we're headed today. All right, here we go. Expected impact of technology adoption on jobs. So these are the types of technologies that are going to be impacting job change. Big data analytics, some of the climate change mitigation technology. That one's interesting, right? As that comes in, what will that mean for your clients? What types of jobs might they want to do where they would be involved in that type of technology or somewhere, in that industry? It's going to mean growth there, right? Encryption, cybersecurity, biotechnology, agriculture technology. So this is interesting. And we'll see that this is something that's been going on for a while, in addition to being predicted to have an impact. Healthcare technologies, and that's making an impact. You might want to look at these too and think, what jobs will that create? And what jobs might that eliminate? So, what jobs in healthcare might be at risk because of these healthcare technology adoptions, and what jobs in healthcare will be expanded because of that? This isn't necessarily saying that it's going to create or remove. Well, it is actually. Sorry. So the little purple ones are the displaced jobs, and the blue is the creation. So in all of these, the purple is the displaced jobs, the jobs that will go away or change significantly, and then the blue is the creation of jobs. So you can see there's going to be some jobs eliminated in these spaces, even though it's creating a bunch of jobs, whether that's technology or whatever the other forces are. And so we can think about, what will that mean for us, for our job, for our work? Am I in this purple work that might be eliminated? We'll look at how you might be able to tell that. And then what does that mean I might shift into? What types of jobs might be being created from technology? And that's one of the kind of key takeaways for our clients, is that we've got to pick our head up pay attention to what's going on in our industry and really understand how the technology is going to be adopted in the future, not just today, but in the future, so that I can plan for making this transition. So I can plan for if my job might be in the risk category, what do I need to learn? Do I need to be able to do to stay employed, right? Or I might want to shift industries, but I don't necessarily have to shift industries. And I think that's sometimes the big picture, this type of job is going to be eliminated and people get scared. And just because one type of job in an industry is being eliminated doesn't mean here you go, it's creating a whole bunch of other jobs at the same time. So we've got to figure out how do we stay employed, especially if we like our industry. There's opportunity. We just have to figure it out what that's going to look like. And then you'll see some of the jobs that are, going to be more displaced by a new technology. And I found that interesting. The robotic industry, and then artificial intelligence that will be replaced by artificial intelligence. It's just, crazy times. Okay, so that's on page 25. If you get the report, go check that out. I think there's a lot there to unpack, especially if you've got clients that are in some of those industries and are nervous about some of that. Then it goes through the human skills and what's, really important and what will be important. We could come back to that if you're interested. This is the overall picture that I started with, that now we're seeing that it's going to be a 14 million job deficit in 2027. Now remember, this is just a prediction. In 2020, it was 12 million were going to be created. So it's yes, we've got to pay attention and think forward and see what's going on. And this may change. It'll be interesting to see in 2026 what the report says and how this shifts or what kind of came true and what doesn't. We can't predict the future, but we can kind of plan for it. These are the industries that have the most churn or expected the most churn. Media, entertainment, and sports. That's interesting. And what might that look like? What might be removed? We've, hearing about the writers' strikes that could be involved here. What might that mean for your client if they work in that industry? Government and public sector, information technology, real estate, and remember, this is churn, so it doesn't mean it's going to have the most jobs eliminated, but it means these percentage of jobs is going to be eliminated, and then a certain percent of jobs might be created. This is simply that churn. Real estate, that's interesting. Starting to see some technology that's been at play there for a little while, making their job easier, probably eliminating some of the more administrative jobs. Financial services, again, I just, there's AI systems now that can manage your funds and probably do a better job than people at predicting the market. Although predictive with AI is challenging because you've only got your prediction is only as good as the data set. So it's going to predict based on the data. It can't predict based on new entries in the world. And so people will still be involved in predicting the unpredictable, if you will, but the technology can manage a lot of that. And they've already created technology that can manage your funds, that can manage your blockchain, that can manage your, all the other little types of finances and financial investments that have come out recently. Supply chain transformation. So just some interesting things there to think about. And this is the churn. So again, not necessarily that these are the ones the most jobs are being eliminated from, but these are the ones that are going to show the highest churn. Lots of jobs being displaced and perhaps jobs being created. You have to dive in a little bit deeper per sector to see what that looks like, which is the next page. So here is the data around, new jobs. So job creation is blue and displacement is purple, which is similar to what we were looking at above. And we can see some of the new jobs that are going to be created. A lot of tech stuff, but also some tech plus human, like business intelligence analyst, agricultural equipment operators. So remember, we saw that agriculture technology, and in the other list, there's just something going on there. It's maybe a great industry for people to get into. Then you've got a lot of data engineer, but you do have the business development professionals, process automation specialists, not surprising, right? technical specialists, project managers still here, architects and surveyors, that's interesting. So there are things, even advertising and public relations, you kind of have this technology piece, of course, but then you have this uniquely human skills piece that is hard going to be hard for technology to replace. And you're seeing a little bit of both there. You're seeing the two different worlds of things that are going to go away because of technology, things that are going to be increased because of technology, and then the things that technology can't replace, which are those uniquely human skills, communication, sales, truck drivers. So you see some of those here as well. And then some of the things that are at most risk for getting eliminated, which is interesting because you might think they would be technology related or even redundant jobs like accounting and those types of things. And those are here. But you also see training and development. It's interesting. Creation and displacement, making it like almost even, right? Strategic advisors. One of the early sessions that I went to on artificial intelligence, they were talking about this, that really AI can do strategy pretty well, or at least predict and kind of create the strategy. You still have to have people that are fact checking it and implementing it, obviously. But when you look at the types of jobs it can replace, strategy is one of them because it augments it, makes it faster for fewer people having to do that, right? And then you see some of the other jobs, telemarketers. I'm not sure many of us are sad about that. Hopefully, those individuals can pivot and find good jobs, but we don't want to get those calls. Although now we're getting them robocalls, right? Which hopefully we can eliminate faster. Relationship managers, I found that one interesting. Caretakers and housekeepers for buildings, so facilities types of folks. Legislators and officials, I find that one fascinating. Here's your accounting, statistics, record keeping, stock keeping, administrative, right? I mean, and technology, ChatGPT can do a lot of those administrative tasks for people now, data entry, cashiers, et cetera. So you can see some of those that are at the highest risk for being removed. What I like about the 2020 report that they didn't do this year is they kind of crosswalked some of these jobs that were being eliminated to some of these jobs that were growing. If I am worried about my job in accounting, maybe I want to do something over here that uses that same skill set. So, financial advising or even vocational education using my accounting background. So, there's an interesting opportunity for people to look across, see how they might leverage those skills in some of these areas that are growing. I mean, even for accounting to look at risk management, there's skill sets they'd have to gain, of course, but there is some crossover there in terms of style and how we work and the kind of general skill set and strengths, and then the work that it is being done. So that one, it's on page 30, obviously be a good one to go and dive into, especially with clients that are down here on these areas where it's a heavy risk for their job being eliminated. Now, I will say that one of the predictions, and it doesn't really show up here as much, but the manufacturing engineer, manufacturing workers, and when I was giving the presentation just recently, this Front Range Community College was talking about their new program to help get more people into manufacturing because there's a significant lack of talent for companies, local companies to hire. And so, even though the overall trend might be that manufacturing jobs are lessening, that doesn't mean that there's not a local movement or a local reason that something might be growing right now and even have more longevity than is predicted. Whether it's a hotspot for manufacturing, which for some reason kind of the North Denver, North Colorado area is, or whatever it might be, there's an opportunity there. Pay attention a little bit to what's going on regionally or locally, in addition to these bigger picture predictions, because they're not always going to be on track with what you have going on in your local municipality. So I'd recommend, especially if we work with a lot of local job seekers, to pay attention to your chamber of commerce or local economic development industry groups and see what they're seeing, what types of businesses they're seeing coming in, what types of businesses they predict, because that will be really important. And if we're working with people more globally, some of this global data may be helpful, or pointing them to whatever local business organization they're interested in so that they can do that research locally as well. Because these are just predictions, they're kind of global predictions, and they may not apply to everyone. Um, so this is job growth that has already happened. um, so in that economic or agricultural equipment, truck drivers, vocational education teachers, machinery repairers. So those are things that have grown over the last few years, which is interesting. And then the things that have shrunk the most in the last 5 years. Data entry, admin, accounting. So those were shrinking even before ChatGPT came on and kind of changed everything. And so we can see that those will likely decrease even more. And how will that look and what will that do for your clients is really the questions that we want to talk about. So, big picture is that we want to help our clients pick their head up and look at what's going on in their industry or in their target industry to really understand how they might use technology now, because that will keep them marketable for the longest amount of time, is to start being a technology adopter in their job now, then to look at what might they crosswalk into that is growing or predicted to grow, and what does that look like? Could they start networking towards that? Could they start taking classes towards that? They obviously, do some research that'll kick off their networking. And then how do they want to put those pieces together so that they can be ready to move when they want to or when they have to, depending on how things move in their industry. So it's not about the gloom and doom, it's about informed career management, right? That this is what's going on. These factors are changing jobs, they're changing industries, and we have to be able to predict a little bit what's going on in our job or our industry, and we can only do that by paying attention, researching, talking to people, thinking about where we're headed, and really kind of challenging ourselves to not be afraid of the technology. Because if you're afraid and you stick your head in the sand, that's the worst case scenario, right? Because then you're not going to know when your time has come, and it's going to be a surprise. So, how can we help them get the courage and get the skills to pay attention and see what's coming next? Now, I want to talk just a moment about what this means for us. We know that technology is coming, writing is on some of the chopping blocks. So, how does that apply to our world, to our skills? And there are chatbots out there that can do career coaching. There are chatbots out there that can do career work. Obviously, ChatGPT can write a resume and it can help people do writing. And what will we do with that technology? We can't stick our heads in the ground, right? We can't pretend it doesn't exist. So we've got some sessions. Well, we did a free session on April 11th that was an overview. Like, this is how AI is being used in hiring. This is how AI is being used in career services. If you missed that, I'll drop the link down here. It's on YouTube, so you can get it for free from April 11th. It was an open call. But now we're going to dive a little bit deeper into how do we want to use this in our coaching. And this isn't necessarily about the functionality, but it can do. It's about the coaching process and the best outcomes. What do we want it to do? What is the best outcome going to come from it doing? And I've started to kind of think this out in terms of process and how we can use it in our work. And I'll be sharing more detail on this in the sessions we have coming up tomorrow. And then in June, tomorrow, we're going to be talking a lot about coaching. So how can we use, it's not just ChatGPT, it's AI in general, in our coaching work. So career decision making, chat GPT or similar technologies can help analyze data, they can help do the research, but they can't tell our client what they want to do, right? You can't even really put in a resume and say, what should I do based on this resume? Because the assumption then is that you've liked doing everything in there. I see people talking about doing that. I'd be careful with that, because if you're making a huge assumption that I want to keep doing things that are similar to my resume, and you're not giving it any instruction on what you'd want to do differently. So we're going to go through how you could use a system like that more effectively to really help your client get a good answer, not just a answer. In interview coaching, we know that we can use it to, again, do the job knowledge. It can ask you questions. It can do some of those steps. Yes, it can even give you answers, but do you really want it to? Is that really helpful? And when might it be and when might it not be? Well, we're going to talk about that. And then in job search, same thing. You've got to know where you want to go. And then you can use it for research, for messaging, to create your job search plan, although you're going to need a human element to that. And then for that consistent execution, again, you'll need the human element on that. So we're doing that session tomorrow, where we're going to go through some more specifics. We're going to go through the different types of AI technologies that you could use in any one of those sessions or any one of those processes. And I've just been having a lot of fun doing some dabbling in the technologies and figuring out what that looks like. So join us tomorrow, and we're going to be going through that coaching. You can also purchase it and get the recording later. We're going to go through different types of AI technology that would aid in those three processes: career discovery, job search, and interviewing. What can you use to help you be more effective in those processes and use this new technology, right? Help job seekers understand how to use it. Then in June, we're going to be going through this kind of same idea related to writing. So I'll kind of coin the phrase now that ChatGPT can write a resume. It cannot write your resume unless you give it your content. And that's what we're going to talk about. How do you help people write with ChatGPT or Bing AI, which is now, using ChatGPT for free? How can you use that while getting your unique voice across and making sure that it's your stories that you're telling and not making yourself a commodity? I see so many examples where people are using it to write a cover letter, and you get the same cover letter for each candidate because ChatGPT is going to write the same kind of content for each client unless you give it not just great prompts, because it's not just about the questions, it's about the content that you need to give it as well. So we're going to dive deeper into that in June if you want to join us in June. And we'll go through that process, how to use it process to get the best outcomes while perhaps speeding up your process. You'll have to decide if you think it speeds up your process or no or not. But you'll never know if you don't understand how it could be used and how it could be used well, instead of in the generic ways that I see a lot of people writing about using it. So that's what's coming up in May and June. Um, and if you're interested in either of those sessions, let me know. And again, if you're interested in that free call that we did earlier in April, I'll drop that link so that you can watch that session if you missed it. We're going to be here next Tuesday talking about social media and social media job search, because we also have our social media for job search strategist course coming up. And there's so many new things that we can do with our job seekers, not just on LinkedIn, but also on other platforms to have a better chance of landing their ideal role. So I'll see you next week here on Trend Tuesday, where we'll talk about the now, the new, and the next in careers. Thank you, everyone. It was great to see you. Thanks for dropping in the chat.